and welcome to the session on tribes of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. This is from the course BSW 044. Now, today we will be studying about them, and so before we start, let us give a brief introduction about why you have to do this or what is the objective of understanding this one. Now, this session will enable you to examine the profile of tribes in the state of Jammu and Kashmir and to know about the types of tribals living in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Now, we have gone through the tribes in most of the northeast states, and now we are shifting towards a little bit to the north, and we'll be understanding the kinds of tribes that are existing there. Now, first and foremost, let me introduce this topic to you. The main aim of this session is to understand the culture and lifestyle of the tribal population of the Indian state Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. Now, we'll take these topics one by one. First, we'll understand the tribes within Jammu and Kashmir and then slowly graduate towards the Himachal Pradesh tribes. Now, the Kashmir Valley is famous for its beautiful mountainous landscape and is a land of immense natural beauty. It is also called paradise on earth. The most magnificent of the Kashmir trees is the chinar found throughout the valley. Mountain ranges in the valley have dense doe deer, pine and fir, walnut, willow, almond and cider also add to the rich flora of Kashmir. Now, the literal meaning, if you have to go to Himachal Pradesh, now the literal meaning of Himachal Pradesh is region of snowy mountains. Hima means snow in Sanskrit. Now, the economy of the state is highly dependent on three sources: hydroelectric power, tourism and agriculture. Himachal is also said to be the fruit bowl of the country, with orchards scattered all over the place. In the two states of India, that is Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir, different tribes exist that have been studied a little. Now, this is an earnest attempt to describe the different tribes and their culture and practices. Now, as I mentioned before, we will take these tribes of the region slowly and gradually. So, first we will understand the tribes of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir is inhabited by a few tribal communities. The tribal people and their customs, culture and also means of communication makes the tribes of Jammu and Kashmir stand out. Most of the tribes of Jammu and Kashmir are believed to have descended from the Aryans. Now, the tribes of Jammu and Kashmir converse with each other in the DOGRA language, which is a blending of other languages like Sanskrit, Punjabi and Persian, which is also again dating back to the Indo-Aryan group of Sanskrit. Now, in regards to the tribal life of Jammu and Kashmir plays host to the artistic traditions of the various tribes who have settled there. Now, just like any other tribal group, the tribes of Jammu and Kashmir are rice eaters, and wheat and pulses form their staple diet. The tribal population of Jammu and Kashmir are primarily an agrarian society. Now, before we go on and understand the tribals that are existing in Jammu and Kashmir, let us understand a bit about Jammu and Kashmir. We have heard a lot about Jammu and Kashmir being the tourist destination, although in today's time it is declining because of various other reasons. Now, Jammu and Kashmir is located in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent. The territory is part of the larger region of Kashmir, which has been the subject of dispute between India, Pakistan and China since the partition of the subcontinent in 1947. Now, the legislation passed in August 2019 set the stage for the downgrading Jammu and Kashmir from statehood to union territory status and splitting off a part of it, known as the Ladakh region, into a separate union territory. Now, Jammu and Kashmir, famously also known as J&K, is a union territory of India, located in the country's northern part and a global tourist destination. In addition to traditional recreational tourism, a vast scope exists for adventure, pilgrimage, spiritual and health tourism. The natural beauty and picturesque locations have made it a favored destination for tourists across the world. Is famous for its temples, while the Kashmir Valley is known for its lakes and gardens. J&K has agroclimatic conditions best suited for horticulture and floriculture. Horticulture is a mainstay of the rural economy, providing employment to large number of local inhabitants. Now, Kashmir is a beautiful valley in the northernmost part of India, and it is a part of the state called Jammu and Kashmir. The Kashmir Valley is surrounded by some of the highest mountain ranges in the world. The valley itself is green and thickly populated. The people of this valley are highly evolved and have therefore dominated the history and culture of the state. Jammu and Kashmir is an important tourist destination that we have learned, and many of you also know it. And for the uninitiated, Jammu and Kashmir in a decade before used to be a heavy tourist destination. And apart from that, it has been also a place of attraction for tourists since centuries. Now, the lush green forests, sweet springs, perennial rivers, picturesque alpine scenery and pleasant climate of Kashmir Valley, which is also known as a paradise on earth, has remained an internationally acclaimed tourist destination. Now, whereas the Jammu region, the land of temples, is attracting a large number of pilgrim tourists, and the important destination has been the Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine. Ladakh region, the moon land, has been a much sought after destination in recent times, especially for the foreign tourists, and is famous for adventure tourism. Now, we have mentioned a brief about Jammu and Kashmir and the kind of tourist destination it is. Now, let us understand the kind of tribal community or the tribes that are existing in that place. Now, the first tribe that I would like to bring to your notice is the BAKARWAL tribe. Now, the BAKARWAL tribe community or the BAKARWAL tribal community of Jammu and Kashmir are special nomadic tribes, mainly found in the Pir Panjal range located between the two states of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. BAKARWAL tribes are also found in the states of Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh and Punjab. This tribe is also known as Dangar in several parts of India. Now, in Jammu and Kashmir alone, BAKARWAL tribes are predominant in the areas of Jammu, which comprises of various districts like Jammu, Kathua, Udhampur, Poonch, Rajouri and the Kashmir Valley, which consists of several districts like Srinagar, Baramulla, Kupwara, Pulwama, Budgam and Anantnag. They are also found in some parts of Ladakh, consisting of Ladakh and Kargil district. By tradition, they are mainly goatherds and shepherds. BAKARWAL is deduced from Punjabi, Urdu, Dogri, Kashmiri and Hindi terms. The word BAKARWAL is derived from two terms with different meanings. Bakri or Bakar means goat and wal, connoting one who takes care of. So, mostly goatherds or shepherds. Now, the lifestyle of BAKARWAL tribes also throws some light on their culture and societal setup. They lead a very secluded and lonely life. Once in every year, they take herds of sheep to the steep high mountains regions for grazing. During the summer season, when the nature is in its full bounty, in its full bloom, they easily move from one meadow to the other. In general, these BAKARWAL tribes move in pairs. Once in a while, however, they may go alone or in larger groups, largely depending upon the number of sheep or goats they take for grazing. The physical characteristics of the BAKARWAL males are that they keep long beards. Some of their characteristics features, along with their custom, language, manners and dressing sense, match with the Gujar tribes of Himachal Pradesh. Now, about these Gujar tribes, we will be learning in the next session. Now, let us talk about the BALTI tribe. BALTI is a scheduled tribe of Jammu and Kashmir. Traditionally, the BALTI tribe from Jammu and Kashmir are understood to have been descendant of Celtic communities settled in Scandinavia. It is believed that after the Baltic floods, people of this region started to migrate and many of them settled in Jammu and Kashmir. The Baltis of Ladakh region of Jammu and Kashmir are, on the other hand, related to many other communities in Kazakhstan, Russia and Ukraine. Now these Balti tribes are settled in the Suru valley of the Ladakh range and is a crossbreed between the Dards from Dardistan and Mongoloids from Tibet. They belong to the Shia sect of Islam. Animal husbandry is the main source of livelihood. In addition to this, they also do occupations such as horticulture, business and unskilled and semi-skilled labor. These tribes rear goats and sheep for wool, milk, skin and meat. The daily recitation of the Holy Quran is considered very auspicious by these tribes. Muta is a temporary marriage system followed by the Baltis. They speak the Balti language. Now let us understand a little bit about the culture. The influence of Tibetan, Islamic and Indian cultures and religion are apparent in the Balti culture. However, Islam plays an important role in Balti culture. Tibetan influence can be seen in its architecture, where houses with flat roof, painted white and sloping inwards are built, and the most notable artifact of the Balti or the Ladakhi architecture include Karpoche in Skardo, Kapulo Khar in Kapulo, Chakchan and Shigar Kankwa and Baltit fort of Hunja. Now these are some of them. Now mosques in Baltistan are mainly built in the Tibetan style, though several mosques constructed have wood finish and decoration of Iranian origin, which can also be seen in Ladakh and Kargil. The Balti tribal are very friendly and hospitable people. Their architecture, costumes, cuisine, festival, dances, language, script and epics make them unique. The local culture is a blend of both Ladakhi and Islamic rituals. Now the Baltis are also devout Muslims, but have never distanced themselves from the cultural and linguistic ties to what 90% of the Baltis regard as Ladakhi cultural and linguistic heritage. Now, talking about the religion, let us mention here that history of Islam in Baltistan starts with arrival of Amir Kabir Sayyid Ali Hamadani, that is a legendary Sufi saint of the Muslim history, who has come from Iran during 15th century AD. The entire region was converted to Nurbakhshi order of Islamic Sufism. Now, during the start of 19th century, the predominant population converted to other Islamic schools of thought such as Shias and Sunnis. Today, the Baltis are Shias denominated. That is approximately 54% of them. Now, Sufi Nurbakhshi forms approximately 43% and the Sunni sect form 3%. Today, Nurbakhshis are found in Baltistan and Ladakh region of Jammu and Kashmir. Local Muslims who converted from Bonpo and Tibetan Buddhism still retain many traits of pre-Islamic Bon and Lamais rituals, which make Islam of Baltistan and Ladakh unique from the other Muslim societies that we all know about. Now, swastika, that is also known as the Yungdrum, that sign is considered auspicious and is carved on wooden planks that can be seen in historical mosques and khankas. Now, showing respect to La and Lu, that is the born gods, is customary during many village rituals. The Balti, who converted to Islam from Tibetan Buddhism in the 16th century, regard congregation in the mosque and khanka as an important religious rituals. The khankas are a kind of typical training school of Nurbakhshi Sufis who was introduced or which was introduced by the early Sufi saints who arrived in the region. Now, a little bit about the Sufi. The Sufi students gain spiritual purity, which is known as the tazkiyah, through these training, meditation and contemplation. under well-practiced spiritual guides who have already attained certain degree of spirituality. Now, on every Friday, the men folk generally attend the prayers sometimes a little after noon. All Muslims will fast in the day during the month of the Ramadan, and a celebration will be held at the end of the fast. Small pockets of Bon and Tibetan Buddhism believers amounting to approximately more than 3,000 people are found in Karmang Valley of Baltistan and in West Kargil. Now, after having heard about the Baltis, let us look at the tribes, that is the Dogra tribes of Jammu and Kashmir. The people of Jammu and Kashmir possess a distinguishing lifestyle depending upon the region they belong to. In the Jammu region, majority of inhabitants belong to the Dogra community possessing upteen religious sects and caste. Historians believe that the Dogra tribe of Jammu and Kashmir is the descendants of the Aryans who had settled on the southern hilly tracts of Kashmir, stretching up to the Punjab plains. Now, the Hindu Dogra Rajputs and the Muslim Dogra Rajputs are martial races. Now, let us understand their religion, art, literature and music. Now, the Dogri folk literature comprises of prose and verses. Dogri folk songs range from love to heroism and sacrifice. Ceremonial lyrics give analysis of human reaction to ceremonies. Biayan are sung to celebrate the birth of male child, indicating gender bias within the society. Now, the family lyrics pertain to household members such as mother, father, daughter-in-law, mother-in-law and their relationships. And after having heard about the family, let us look at the marriage tradition among the Dogras. Some Dogras still follow types of marriage which is called dohri, or we say double in simple understanding, layman's term. That is, they take a daughter and give them their daughter. So there's an exchange of daughter. If you take my daughter, I give you my daughter. Now, Gotra and Kula exogamy is also maintained. Chadarpana, or marrying the brother of husband by widow, is also found in Jammu. Child marriage was common too, that is the marriage of girl child within the age of 10 to 14 years and boys 15 to 18 years. However, Maharaja Hari Singh banned this in 1940 and raised the age of marriage for girls to 16 years and boys to 18 years. In the hilly areas of Udhampur, Kathua and Doda, people also take concubines termed as duals. Now, let us understand about the cuisine. We all know that the tribal cuisine all over India is multifaceted and very unique from other regions. So, what is the cuisine of Dogra? Let us understand. Now, wheat, maize and bajra are staple food besides rice and cereals. Meetha madra is a favorite dish and is cooked from milk, dry fruits and semolina. Preparation of rajmash, that is a special variety of red kidney bean. In probably northern India, we call it as rajma, so they call it as rajmash. Now, this orai, a dish of curd fermented by rye, amble made from pumpkin, jaggery and tamarind are also one of the favorites, especially during ceremonial cooking. The expert cooks are called Sians, usually Brahmins. Non-vegetarian food was limited to Rajput and Vaishya, that is the Mahajans. Khatta meat, that is mutton cooked with sour pomegranate seeds or lime juice and flavored with fumes of a burning charcoal soaked in mustard oil. Now, kheer is one of the famous food of Dogras. It is prepared by flour and butter and served with sugar and curd. Mostly, it is served to bridegroom at the time of marriage by the in-laws. Now, kalari is also one of the favorite foods of Dogras in the rainy season. It is prepared by flour mix, cottage cheese and milk cream with water with the help of a small cup-shaped pot. Now, kalari is served with milk. Another thing is babru or the patoru are prepared by flour and fried in mustard oil. Babru is served with mani or potato, kheer or curd. Kheer is a dish prepared from milk by adding some rice and dry fruit in it. It is a delicacy in many parts of India. It is also one of the famous foods of Dogras and served in almost all special occasions and festivals. Another popular exotic dish is guchia, that is dried mushroom or with black morel, usually added as an ingredient in pulao, as it grows naturally in forests and cannot be cultivated and makes an excellent dish with mountain potatoes. Kesar is extensively used to flavor sweet dishes, and it is also used for its antioxidant benefits. Now, so much so we've talked about the cuisine that taking this class I'm already feeling hungry. Now, let us move from the cuisine to the clothing. In Jammu, the Dogras have very simple dress that incorporates the long kurtas and pajamas with tight fittings at the ankles. Women wear tight bodhis or jumpers over pajamas that resemble that of men folk. Turban and kamarband are the added features of elderly males of the tribesmen of Jammu and Kashmir. In Srinagar, the Khan dress or Pathani suit is the common dress among the males, and Pehran, that is a long tunic, and Salwar with the traditional kasaba, that is a headgear, is the most admired dress among women. The Pehran of females have zari embroidery on the hemline, around pockets and mostly on the collar area. Now, the pashmina shawl and skull cap made of fur or karakuli are the symbols of royalty among men. In Ladakh, the tribesmen don the long woolen gowns with the border made up of sheepskin and tied at the waist by blur-colored girdles. During harsh winters, multicolored caps with ear laps made of velvet are worn, whereas women wear the turquoise-studded headgear referred to as parek with the exquisite multicolored clothes. The bangles, hairpins, brooches and other ornaments are made up of semi-precious stones. Now, moving forward to other tribe, let us know about the CHANGPA tribe. CHANGPA tribal community are settled in different parts of Jammu and Kashmir. The CHANGPA tribes prefer to adapt to nomadic life. In the Jammu and Kashmir state, CHANGPA tribal community is found in several places like Changthang Plateau in Ladakh ranges. The CHANGPA tribe is yet another tribal community from Jammu and Kashmir who have been enlisted legally as one of the scheduled tribes of India. They are, however, believed to have taken up to several occupations in the metropolitan India, moving a bit far away from the ancient cultural ethnicity. The main occupation of the CHANGPA tribal community is animal husbandry. Just like many other tribal communities, these CHANGPA tribal communities engage themselves in cultivation. Now, the CHANGPA tribes mostly cultivate barley, and many of them these days sustain their livelihood by small trading activities. Some of these CHANGPA tribes also gather salt from the northern shores of the Sokar Lake in Rupshu region and sell it in the Ladakh area. They also rear cattle and flocks of goats for pashmina on the hill slopes. The CHANGPA camp at altitudes ranging from approximately 3600 to 4500 meters. In extreme environment temperatures, winter can drop as low as -50 degrees. Now, the total population of Ladakhi CHANGPA is very less, and an approximation cannot be made as they live in the high altitude and is difficult to contact them. However, while CHANGPA is the generic term, they are not a single homogeneous community. Groups are divided by their place of origin, each having its own chief and its specified grazing areas. Ladakh is home to 14 such groups. One of these groups is Rupsu with roughly 120 families. While local variation exists, essentially all the groups share the same way of life, and the account given here applies in general to CHANGPA living throughout Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir. The cultural and traditional exuberance of the CHANGPA tribe is also quite high, that is evident in several aspects like housing, dance, music, festival, etc. Now with this we'll come to the end of this session and we'll continue further with the tribes in Jammu and Kashmir in the next session. I hope you had a happy learning. Thank you.